live right. Now I'm going to jump way ahead and 10 time for a minute. How many of you know what happened on July 4th, 1776? Right. The Declaration of Independence was finalized and approved on this date. The first sentence in the Declaration of Independence is, and I quote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Now it says endowed by their Creator, who for us is God. I had just put that in there. Let's look at the phrase that all men are created equal. Are they really? No, they're not. Which brings me to my sermon title, All Men Are Not Created Equal. We as a black race are not created equal. But that's another sermon. If we do what God asks of us, He will not treat us the same either. He does not treat us the same as He does someone that is disobedient or unbelieving. Case in point, verse 8 tells us that Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. How many of you know favor ain't fair? The Hebrew word for favor is chafetz, C-H-A-P-H-E-T-S, chafetz, which means pleased with, delight in. So God was pleased and delighted with Noah. Now God asked Noah to build this monstrous ark. And you know he was talked about and teased building this thing. Just picture a box as big as 1.5 football fields and as high as a 4-story building. That's big. Have you ever heard the saying dry as pitch? Anybody ever heard of that saying dry as pitch? Well, it's one of them old sayings. Well, anyway, pitch is a resin resulting from the sap of various coniferous trees such as pines, spruce, and firs, which is evergreen trees that bears cones. Resin comes from plants and is very sticky and hardens with treatment. Well, this is what Noah used to keep the ark from leaking. How many of you saw Evan Almighty? And you know what he had to go through when he was building that ark, right? Okay, so I'm quite sure Noah had that very similar reaction from his people during his time. He warned them of the coming of the flood and of the end of the time of life as they knew it. But did they heed the warning? No. Do we? Some of us. But just like them, some of us do not listen to this very day when preachers and teachers and whomever knows the real truth that this life will end. As we know it, it will end. This world will perish and we will perish with it. And we will have eternal life. It's up to you whether it will be in hell, whether it will be in heaven. That's your call. Noah was the recipient of a tremendous show of faith. God wiped out everything and everybody, including every animal. But God spared Noah, his wife, his sons, and his sons' wives. Now check this out. The Bible said Noah was the righteous one. The Bible didn't mention anyone else in his household being righteous. Now I'm not saying that they weren't. I wasn't there. All I'm saying is the Bible didn't say anything about it. And if you don't believe me, go to Genesis 7:1. And it says, "Then the Lord said to Noah, come into the ark, you and all your household, because I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation." So what are you saying, Minister? saying that if you stick with the one that God is giving favor to, you will benefit mightily from their favor. You will get the residue of their favor. And if you mess around long enough, you might get some favor of your own. Just ask Joseph's brother in Genesis 45. Go home and read it. I'm telling you, it's fascinating. It's another sermon. See, I got all these sermons in this one. But I'm telling you, it's fascinating. Go home and read Genesis 45. This is one reason, just one reason, why we need to be grounded and rooted and connected with a God-fearing, Bible-teaching, Jesus-believing church, so that we will have a connection to the man or woman of God that is getting their orders from God himself. Come on, y'all, if you see that God is pleased with or delighted in them, hop on the train. I mean, come on. If you see God is favoring this here woman, or if you go to another church, your own pastor, don't just run like a scared little chicken at every little, oh, they said this about me, they did this, I ain't going back. The devil is a liar. He's trying to move you. He's trying to steal whatever the Lord is trying to have for you. And if you don't have a church home, get connected. Get connected. I'm telling you, iron sharpens iron. You gotta have that connection. Okay. And not only that not only did Noah receive favor from God, but this is the first time the word covenant is used in the Bible in verse 19 of chapter 6. God made a promise, which means covenant, to Noah to keep them alive while he destroys everyone and everything else. God has made this same covenant, this promise with us, if we but have faith in him, obey him, and believe in his son, Jesus Christ. He promised us eternal life in John 3:16. How many times and chances has he given us while we were out there doing our thing? And some of us are still out there doing our own thing, thinking we're going to get away with this or get away with that. Just so you know, don't play God. Don't play him. He is not going to keep putting up with our mess. If you are one of his children, if you claim to know and love him, and if you do not stop your mess, he will let you get enough. He will tell on you. He will show all the crap you're doing to the world. And you know plenty of preachers and pastors and ministers. You know plenty of them. That God gave them warning, but did they heed it? No. So what did God have to do? Okay, I guess I got to tell on you. Got to put your business out there on Front Street. So I just want you to keep that in mind. Now, in chapter 7, it tells us of the great flood. And verse 12 tells us that the rain was on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. 40, whether it is days, months, or years, is always a period of testing, trial, or chastisement, but not judgment. And it ends with a period of restoration, revival, or renewal. Let me ask you, are you going through a 40? As many times as I have read or heard about Noah, I really just noticed during this sermon how God uses the number 7 in chapter number 7. He tells Noah to take with him 7 of every kind of clean animal, and also 7 of every kind of bird. And in 7 days from that time, he was going to send the rain. Well, the number for spiritual perfection is the number 7. And it means divine fullness, completeness, and totality. It comes from a Hebrew word meaning to be full, to be